The Hidden Leaf Village basked in the golden glow of dusk, its streets alive with the murmurs of daily life, unaware of the shadows creeping just beyond perception. High above, perched on the Hokage monument, a lone figure observed it all, his crimson Sharingan gleaming with quiet dominance. Madara Uchiha had returned, not as a conqueror in broad daylight, but as a puppeteer pulling strings from the dark. Beneath his mask of anonymity, the ninja world danced to his tune, its conflicts and alliances carefully orchestrated to serve his vision. Naruto Uzumaki, now the 7th Hokage, stood atop the village's central tower, his orange cloak fluttering in the wind. The weight of leadership pressed upon him, but his resolve burned brighter than ever. "Something's off," he muttered, his cerulean eyes narrowing. Recent missions had ended in strange failures, missing intelligence, unexpected enemy movements, as if someone anticipated every move Konoha made. Beside him, Sasuke Uchiha crossed his arms, his Rinnegan scanning the horizon. "You feel it too," Sasuke said, voice low. "This isn't coincidence. Someone's manipulating events." Their suspicions were interrupted by an explosion rocking the village's eastern district. Flames licked the sky as panic shouts erupted. Without hesitation, Naruto and Sasuke vanished in bursts of speed, reappearing at the disaster's epicenter. A squad of rogue ninja, their faces obscured by masks etched with unfamiliar symbols, tore through the streets. Their movements were precise, coordinated, unnaturally so. "They're not acting on their own," Sasuke deduced, his Sharingan dissecting their patterns. Naruto gritted his teeth, forming a shadow clone that lunged forward, kunai flashing. The lead rogue ninja twisted midair, deflecting the strike with a curved dagger before countering with a whirlwind kick. Naruto's clone dispersed in a puff of smoke, but the original was already in motion, his Rasengan humming to life. The enemy barely dodged, the spiraling energy cratering the ground where he'd stood. Sasuke, meanwhile, engaged two others, his sword clashing against their weapons in a blur of steel. With a swift teleportation, he appeared behind one, driving a Chidori through his chest, only for the body to dissolve into ink. "Genjutsu?" Sasuke scowled, dispelling the illusion with a pulse of chakra. The rogues regrouped, their leader raising a hand. "You're too late," he taunted, his voice distorted. "The world already bends to his will." Before Naruto could demand answers, the ninja's body convulsed, his skin cracking like porcelain as dark tendrils erupted from within. His form twisted, expanding into a monstrous amalgamation of flesh and chakra, its maw dripping with corrosive saliva. "What the hell is that?" Naruto exclaimed, leaping back as the beast swiped at him, claws shredding stone like paper. Sasuke's Rinnegan flared. "This chakra. It's infused with Uchiha power." The realization struck like lightning, Madara's influence. The beast roared, its tail whipping toward them. Naruto reacted instantly, entering Sage mode, his pupils slitting as natural energy surged through him. He met the attack head-on, catching the tail with raw strength before hurling the creature into a nearby building. Sasuke seized the opening, weaving hand signs. "Amaterasu." Black flames engulfed the beast, but its flesh regenerated rapidly, the fire sizzling into nothingness. Naruto's mind raced. If brute force wouldn't work, they needed strategy. "Sasuke," distracted, he shouted, forming a barrage of shadow clones. They swarmed the beast, each delivering explosive punches while Sasuke teleported around it, his sword carving deep gashes that slowed its regeneration. The creature thrashed, its wild strikes pulverizing clones left and right. Naruto's real body charged forward, gathering wind and swirling it into a futon Rasen shuriken. With a yell, he hurled it, the attack slicing through the beast's core. For a moment, silence hung in the air, then the creature imploded, its remains dissolving into black mist. Panting, Naruto wiped his brow. "That wasn't just some random attack," he said. Sasuke nodded grimly. "They were testing us. And whoever's behind this knows our abilities too well." The pieces were falling into place. Madara's hand was at work, his presence hidden but undeniable. Somewhere in the shadows, he watched, his plans unfolding like a carefully written scroll. As the villagers emerged from hiding, murmurs of fear and confusion filled the air. Naruto clenched his fists. "We'll find him," he vowed. "No one controls this world but the people who live in it." The battle had only just begun, and the true war, one fought in secrecy and deception, loomed over them all. Madara's game was in motion, and the ninja world, unaware of its puppet strings, marched ever closer to his design. The battlefield was a storm of chakra and steel, the air thick with the scent of burning earth and ozone. Naruto Uzumaki lunged forward, his Rasengan spiraling violently in his palm, but Madara Uchiha sidestepped with eerie grace, his Sharingan spinning as he countered with a sweeping kick that sent Naruto skidding back. "You're still too predictable," Madara taunted, his voice dripping with disdain. Sasuke's blade flashed in the sunlight as he appeared behind Madara, aiming for his spine, but the Uchiha patriarch twisted midair, deflecting the strike with a kunai before slamming his elbow into Sasuke's ribs. The impact sent Sasuke crashing into a boulder, dust exploding around him. Naruto gritted his teeth, his Kurama-enhanced cloak flaring as he pushed himself upright. "We can't keep playing his game," he growled, exchanging a glance with Sasuke, who wiped blood from his lip and nodded. They had trained for this, fought side by side against impossible odds, but Madara was something else, a shadow puppeteer who had manipulated the ninja world from the darkness. Sasuke's Rinnegan pulsed, and in an instant, he swapped places with Naruto, who appeared inches from Madara's face, his Rasen Shuriken humming. The explosion rocked the battlefield, but Madara emerged unscathed, his Susanoo skeletal arms forming around him like a shield. "Pathetic," Madara sneered, his perfect Susanoo materializing in full, a towering specter of violet chakra. The ground trembled as he swung its colossal sword, cleaving the earth in two. Naruto and Sasuke barely dodged, their reflexes pushed to the limit. "We need to sync up better," Sasuke hissed, his Sharingan tracking Madara's movements. Naruto clenched his fists, his nine tails chakra surging as he entered sage mode, his senses sharpening. "Let's hit him with everything at once," he said. With a shared resolve, they launched their assault. Sasuke's Amaterasu flames erupted around Madara, black fire licking at his Susanoo, while Naruto summoned a barrage of shadow clones, each one weaving hand signs for a massive wind-style Rasen Shuriken combo. Madara's eyes narrowed, he hadn't expected them to adapt so quickly. He crossed his arms, his Rinnegan flaring, and unleashed a devastating Shinra Tensei, the gravitational force obliterating the clones and dispersing the flames. But Naruto and Sasuke were already moving, exploiting the brief delay in his vision. Sasuke teleported above Madara, his Chidori spear crackling, while Naruto came from below, a Rasengan blazing in each hand. Madara blocked Sasuke's strike with his Susanoo's blade but couldn't stop Naruto's upward spiral. The Rasengan connected, sending Madara spiraling into the sky. Before he could recover, Sasuke's Inferno style flame control lashed out, a whip of fire coiling around Madara's ankle and yanking him back down. The earth shattered on impact, but Madara laughed, his voice echoing unnaturally. "Good. You're finally entertaining me." His Rinnegan's Tomoe spun faster, and suddenly, the battlefield twisted. Naruto and Sasuke felt their chakra being drained, their movement slowing. "What the hell?" Naruto gasped, his limbs heavy. Madara stood, dusting off his robes. "The limbo technique," he explained. "My shadows are stripping your energy. You never stood a chance." But Naruto refused to yield. With a roar, his chakra erupted into a new form, the six-path sage mode, golden light radiating from his body. Sasuke, too, pushed past his limits, his Rinnegan's power surging as he activated the complete body, Susanoo, its armored form cloaking him in indigo flames. Madara's smirk faltered for the first time. "Impossible," he muttered. The final clash was cataclysmic. Naruto's Ultra Big Ball Rasen Shuriken collided with Sasuke's Indra's Arrow, the combined force tearing through Madara's defenses. The shockwave shattered mountains, the sky itself splitting as their energies clashed. Madara's Susanoo cracked, then shattered, his body hurled backward. He landed hard, blood trickling from his mouth, but his eyes burned with fury. "You insects," he spat. Before he could rise, Naruto and Sasuke were upon him, their fists driving into his gut simultaneously. Madara's body convulsed, his Rinnegan flickering. "This isn't over," he choked out, but the light in his eyes dimmed. The ninja world held its breath as the dust settled. Naruto and Sasuke stood victorious, their chests heaving, their bodies battered but unbroken. The battle had pushed them beyond their limits, but they had adapted, fought as one. And for the first time in years, the shadow over the ninja world began to lift. The battlefield was a wasteland of shattered earth and flickering flames, the air thick with the scent of ozone and blood. Naruto and Sasuke stood back to back, their breaths ragged, their bodies pushed beyond exhaustion. Above them, Madara Uchiha loomed like a god, his Rinnegan eyes gleaming with cold amusement as he surveyed the devastation he had wrought. "You cling to hope like children," he murmured, his voice a velvet threat. "But this world has always belonged to me." Naruto's fists clenched, his Kurama-enhanced chakra flickering as his reserves dwindled. "We're not done yet," he growled, forcing himself upright. Sasuke's Sharingan spun, his blade humming with lightning. TCH. Talk less, fight more, he snapped, but there was no bite in his words, only grim determination. The final clash erupted in a blur of motion. Madara moved like a phantom, his perfect Susanoo cleaving the earth as Naruto dodged by a hair's breadth, his shadow clones exploding in a desperate distraction. Sasuke teleported behind Madara, his sword aimed for the spine, but Madara twisted midair, his staff slamming into Sasuke's ribs with a sickening crack. Sasuke spat blood but grinned through the pain, his Rinnegan flaring, Amino Tejikara swapped their positions, and Naruto's Rasengan detonated against Madara's back. For a moment, it seemed like victory was within reach. Then Madara laughed, the sound chilling. Impressive, he admitted, brushing off the smoke. But you forget, I am the architect of this world's suffering. His hands formed a seal, and the sky darkened. A monstrous meteor materialized, its shadow swallowing the battlefield. Naruto's heart pounded. They couldn't dodge this. But giving up wasn't an option. He met Sasuke's gaze, a silent understanding passed between them. With a roar, Naruto summoned every last wisp of Kurama's chakra, his body glowing like a sun as he rocketed upward. Sasuke's Susanoo wings flared, his perfect form merging with Naruto's energy, their combined might forming a colossal avatar of light and shadow. Together, they punched upward, their fists meeting the meteor in a cataclysmic explosion. The shockwave flattened the landscape, the force hurling Madara back for the first time. He skidded across the ground, his eyes wide, not with fear, but intrigue. So this is the power of bonds, he mused, wiping blood from his lip. But bonds are fragile things. His gaze turned merciless. With a flick of his wrist, black rods speared from the earth, impaling Naruto and Sasuke mid-movement. Agony ripped through them, their bodies locking in place as Madara approached. Naruto's vision blurred, but he refused to fall. Sasuke's fingers twitched toward his sword, his breath labored. Damn it. Not like this, he hissed. Madara raised a hand, chakra swirling into a deadly truth-seeking orb. Your era ends here, he declared. Then, a whisper. A flicker of warmth in Naruto's mind. Kurama's voice, faint but fierce. You idiot. You're not alone. Across the battlefield, the spirits of fallen allies shimmered into existence, Minato's hand on Naruto's shoulder, Itachi's gaze meeting Sasuke's. The weight of generations pressed into them, their chakra surging anew. With a deafening cry, Naruto shattered the rods, golden chains erupting from his body. Sasuke's Rinnegan blazed, his Susanoo reforging in an instant. Madara's orb launched, but this time, Naruto caught it, his Rasen Shuriken spiraling to meet it in a blinding detonation. Sasuke blurred past the smoke, his sword aimed for Madara's heart. Madara blocked, but too late. Sasuke's blade wasn't the real threat. Naruto's fist, blazing with the combined chakra of every fallen comrade, connected with Madara's jaw. The impact sent shockwaves through dimensions, Madara's body hurtling into the earth like a fallen star. Silence. Then, the sound of crumbling. Madara's Rinnegan dimmed, his body cracking like porcelain. Impossible. He breathed. Naruto stood over him, his eyes unwavering. You're wrong about the world, he said, his voice raw but firm. It doesn't belong to anyone. It's something we protect, together. Madara's lips curled, not in anger, but something almost like respect. Then, with a final sigh, his body dissolved into ash, carried away by the wind. The aftermath was a world reborn. Villages began to rebuild, alliances forged in fire now unbreakable. Naruto and Sasuke stood atop the Hokage monument, surveying the dawn. What now? Sasuke asked. Naruto grinned, exhaustion etched into every line of his face. Now? We make sure it stays this way. And as the sun rose, casting light over the scars of battle, the future, finally, felt like theirs to shape.